are the only ones. It's like world only that's using this particular process.
As far as we've done a lot of research, and as far as we know, it's the only type of boiler of its kind that uses this fuel as its own fuel source, its sole fuel source. Other people use variations of it, and use it in anaerobically or in different, but we're the only ones that use pure spent grain.
Spent grain is so much protein. It's kind of like trying to throw, if you throw a bunch of eggs, raw eggs in your wood stove as fuel, because they don't burn well. Yeah, so the protein that is in spent grain makes it very difficult to burn. So the thing that we did is we've always been dealing with our spent grain, but we put in a mash press which basically squeezes the spent grain, so it's pretty dry.
Take all the moisture. It's still a little bit damp though.
Yeah, and that just came out an hour and a half ago. And that's how it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, it smells kind of Grammy.
Yeah, a little bit like whatever cream wheat. You know. But traditional brewing ends up the spent grain that comes out is really kind of porridge-like. It's mash. I mean, it's like this, and it's pretty gummy. So what we end up doing after it comes out of our mash press, it has such a low moisture content. It actually has a positive BTU value, because even wood, seasoned wood dries over the storage, and it's better for fuel in your wood stove. But what ends up happening is if you have too much moisture in the grain, all the energy that's in the grain is going to be used just to dry it out. So what we end up doing then is we put it through a grain dryer and then we dry it.
So you press it, you dry it, and then this is the dried product afterwards. It just kind of crumbles.
Yep.
Under the heat of the drying.
Yep. And then but it's high protein.
Well, but also that requires a lot of energy, I would think, to dry that.
Correct.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is a portion of the energy that comes from the fuel, spent grain, is used to dry the spent grain. Okay. The excess is what we use for processing. Processing meaning all of the making of beer. And making of beer is kind of in two parts. One part is the cooking, and then the other part is the fermentation. And when I think of brewing, I'm thinking of the actual cooking part, which is taking a lot of steam, heat. But the spent grain, again, I go back to, this looks pretty easily burnable, but you start burning it and it starts acting like the egg's protein. It just starts to kind of bubble and it doesn't burn very nicely. There's other companies, Heineken tried it, Newcastle tried using spent grain as the primary fuel source and failed. They ended up having a $23 million project that shut down in Manchester, England. That was supposedly going to do what we are doing, though it caused us a little bit of pause because those are some fairly sophisticated companies.
So you haven't had to change this. You're not changing the compression. You're not changing how you dry it. It's just the technology within the boiler itself.
Yeah, although all those steps are very important. Each of those steps to leading up to using the spent grain as the sole fuel source are extraordinarily important. So really, when we think about this project, even though the boiler itself is like 18 months worth of work, really it started in '95, and it was, we have to kind of say it, necessity really kind of drove us this direction, because in order for us to grow, we had to deal with all our logistical needs coming to Juneau with materials, and then also just what impacts we had within our community.
Do you have enough spent grain to produce all of your energy needs? You say that you're the only one in the world that is really able to do the whole process through the energy that you have created. But do you have excess energy that could be sold or utilized elsewhere, or is it pretty much an even?
Right now, we're targeting that we're going to be able to satisfy 70% of our fuel needs with the spent grain. So we're going to still need a little bit more.
Okay.
But
in other words, people need to drink more beer so that you have more spent grain
Correct.
in production.
Yeah.
Now, I
This is what we
understand
need
how
to
this
sit there and
process
drive home
works.
to.
And they need to drink your beer.